Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight, and my guest tonight is Billie Starkz. How's it going?
Pretty good.
You've been a very, very busy lady lately.
Yeah, I've been all over the place.
Let's talk about when you went to Japan. What was it like to be in Japan for the very first time and the experience of the culture?
I honestly loved it so much. I studied 3 years of Japanese before I went to Japan, so I kind of understood how to get around. I figured out the train system. I went to the zoo. I went to Disney Sea. I explored a bunch. I tried a bunch of different food. And I keep joking that I had a bigger culture shock coming back home to the U.S. Like, when I got to Japan, I was like, oh, I'm pretty comfortable. And then I came home, and I was like, everybody's mean, and I don't know what's going on.
I bet you're tripping out. I bet you probably didn't want to leave Japan. You're probably like, no, I'd rather live here.
Honestly, I just love how efficient everything is. The wrestling was amazing, and the girls I met over there are phenomenal wrestlers.
So what are the wrestling fans like over in Japan compared to the American fans?
I feel like there's more respect for wrestling. And then also I feel like it's 100% attention on the match that's happening. Either they're on their phones taking pictures and video of the match, or they don't have their phones at all and are just watching and being patient and clapping at the right moments and wanting to cheer. It was just such like fun crowd to be in front of.
I bet it was. And you had a big match there as well. Tell us about that match.
So on my first trip to Japan, I main evented 2 shows. My second show was at Corrigan Hall, and I main evented against Yuka Sakazaki. It was a championship match. And I became the youngest gaijin / foreigner to ever main event in Corrigan Hall.
Wow, that's amazing. How did that feel?
Honestly, I didn't find that out until after the match, and it was definitely like an awe moment. I was like, oh, I had no idea, but apparently I just made history.
And that's pretty good. If that was me, I'd be tripping out afterwards going, really? And I'd be just sitting there staring at the sky for a minute going, I'm in Japan and I made history in this hall. Yeah, that's pretty cool. When you got back to the States, you also wrestled over at AEW too. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I actually did an AEW Dark the week after my 18th birthday. And I had a really great experience, and I've continued going to AEW. And I have a lot of friends there, so it's just nice to see everybody that I used to see like every single weekend. But I've honestly had a great time working with AEW.
So what was your experience like working with some of that AEW talent?
I got to work Red Velvet. She's been amazing. And I never got to be around her on the independents or anything like that. So our first interactions were at AEW, and she's been a great personality to be around. I also got to wrestle Britt Baker, and I think she's a phenomenal talent. I got to have a really fun match with her. I still feel bad for popping up her nose.
Oh, you popped her nose? Did it bleed?
Yeah.
I bet she wasn't too thrilled afterwards.
That was the strange part. She just ran off and like started taking pictures and smiling. So I was like, oh, I guess she's fine. And then she came back up and she was like, oh, it's fine. My nose is sensitive. It happens all the time. And I was like, okay.
Hey, well, you know the blood doesn't bother her since she's a legit dentist.
Yeah.
So she's probably all used to that. So when you got in the ring with Britt Baker, what was the experience like? Did she take care of you in the ring? Were you able to read each other's what's going to happen next in the ring? How did that go for you?
It was definitely a very fun experience. I feel like I definitely work a different style than Britt, and that's something I had to adapt to there. But it was still a very fun match for me. even though I did lose.
Hey, that's all right. You got the experience. I mean, look at yourself. You're making a name for yourself. I followed you when you first started out where you were green, and look at you. You're going everywhere. Japan, AEW, and you've had a lot of great matches over at GCW. What's some of your favorite matches over at GCW?
Juju, I really loved my match with Maki Ito. I also love my match with Alec Price, Cole Radrick. I've gotten to wrestle so many amazing people at GCW. I got to wrestle Sawyer Wreck. During GCW versus New South, me and Kinsey put on a banger. It's still one of my favorite matches of this year.
I bet it is. Kinsey's pretty good too. What's it like to get in the ring with Kinsey? She's pretty fierce.
Oh, it's definitely a fight every time me and Kinsey get in the ring, but it's definitely a fun fight.
I know. I would love to see more of you and Kinsey get at it. You guys put your heart and soul into it, and when you guys are together, you always put those great, solid matches. Now, tell me about the bunny head. What's up with the bunny head?
So it's actually from my trainer. He retired wrestling, so I broke into his apartment and stole this rabbit head he used to wear. And I just wear it now as like respect for my trainer and to kind of carry on like a part of him.
That's pretty wild. That bunny head kind of reminds me that you came out of a horror film. That's something like a killer would wear, going around taking his victims besides going into the wrestling ring. I like that bunny head. You better be careful. I may have to steal that myself.
Oh, I'm keeping it. That's history right there. I can't give it up.
Yeah, I'll have a trophy right here, and I'll send a ransom note. I go, hey, Billy, look what's right behind me. I got your rabbit head. You've also gotten bloody into some matches too. Do you like getting into some of those bloody hardcore matches?
I prefer not to. I don't like losing that much blood, and is it really worth all the scars on my body? I'm getting beat up enough.
Oh, come on. You're 18 years old. You got a tough body. You can handle that. So, you like horror films as well. So what got you into liking horror films? What was that one movie that really got you into horror?
I don't really know. I think it was more like my friends and stuff. Like when we would hang out, we would just watch horror films because that was something fun to do as a group. So I think my love just slowly grew from getting little bits and pieces. But I definitely remember starting off like very cheesy, like paranormal, like Ghost. That's definitely my intro to horror. It's a very slow intro.
So what was that movie that really got you in besides watching the paranormal? Did you watch any like crazy messed up films? You're like, what the fuck did I just watch?
So the Rob Zombie movie, I can't remember.
Are you talking about the House of a Thousand Corpses? Or are you talking about Devil's Rejects? His Halloween remake, or what?
Halloween remake. I watched that, and it was so like funny but insane at the same time. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I love this.
It's pretty brutal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen some of those pro wrestling horror films? Some of those are fun and cheesy too.
No, I have not. I definitely need to watch them.
Yeah, there's one that came out, was Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, and it was like Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam, Matt Hardy, his wife, Facade the Neon Ninja. That movie was fun and cheesy, man. Wrestling zombies, man, getting zombies in the ring, and they're all getting destroyed. So, since you're wrestling a lot, what are you doing next? What are some of your big matches that are coming up in your career right now? I know you have a busy year.
So I have a street fight coming up next weekend at Black Label Pro Wrestling. I also am defending my championship for Second Wrestling in Chicago, and I'm super excited about that. I am still undefeated at Second Wrestling.
Yay! So, do you have fun wrestling in Chicago? Because I love watching wrestling in Chicago. That's the hotbed for pro wrestling.
I love wrestling in Chicago, but I do hate the traffic. So traveling to Chicago definitely sucks.
Yeah. How about the fans in Chicago, the wrestling fans in Chicago? Tell my audience
Rowdy.
how hardcore they are for their pro wrestling. Yeah. So, how hardcore are Chicago wrestling fans?
They're definitely rowdy. Every time I've been in front of a Chicago crowd, it's been a good crowd.
Yes. So do you ever get a chance to wrestle Alice Crowley?
I have many times, actually. I think if you look at my cage match, I think if you look at all of my matches, I think she's the person I've wrestled the most.
Oh, really? What's it like to get in the cage with Alice Crowley? Because she's pretty mean too.
I feel like we're very familiar with each other, so it's kind of fun. And definitely predictable almost.
Hey, those are the best matches. I've seen a couple matches with you and Alice. I mean, you guys really get at it. Sometimes it feels like you really hate each other. And I know you guys are friends, but when you get into it, it's like Alice Crowley turns into a machine. You know, she goes from this nice little cool young lady, and then when she gets in the ring, she's just like a total beast. But anyway, yeah, so that's pretty fun. But let's go back over to Japan. So when you were, how far did you go in Japan? Like checking out the culture and scenery. What was most of your I'm tongue tied memorable moments in Japan?
Definitely going to Disney. That was really fun. I got to ride on rides that I didn't fully understand. I was like listening to the Japanese, and I would get like one word and be like, okay, maybe this is it. And put the stories together myself, and then I would go and travel and get food. I did a basic tour with Chris Brooks. He was like, oh, I'll take you to the shrines and show you around at good food places for a night. And him, Drew Parker, Ricky Shane Page, and Alex Cologne all took me out and showed me around, like, the generic places around Japan.
They take you to generic places? Well, usually the generic places are usually fun than the legit tourist places, though, too.
Mm-hmm. I went to the New Japan store, and that was pretty cool. And then there was, like, a really small, like, wrestling shop that was super cool. We were all over the place, but we kept popping in and out of, like, different, like, cities in Japan. And it's so much fun to ride on the train, and you pop up in different areas, and they have, like, different vibes, almost.
I bet they do, and I bet you see a lot of anime, too.
Yes. The city I stayed in, Shinjuku, I think its nickname is, like, Geek City or something like that.
Geek City? That's awesome.
There were so many, like, there were so many little arcades and, like, fun machines.
That's pretty wild. So when you were at Japan Disney, what was that like, riding some of the rides there, and did you get to see Mickey Mouse?
So I got to go to Tower of Terror for my first ride.
Okay.
And it was so much fun. Yuka was with me, and Miyu, and we were joking about, like, one of the characters on the ride was, like, this old white man, and he was supposed to be, like, a traveler. And I don't remember who said it, but somebody pointed at the sign and was like, oh, KFC man. Because they were trying to explain, like, what the ride was trying to say. And they were like, oh, evil KFC man, steel totem. I was like, okay.
Oh, wow. Colonel Sanders in Japan on the Disney Tower Terror ride. Since you were at Disney Japan, you had to at least go to the Haunted Mansion.
I did, and it was amazing.
So what was it like? Is it like the same like at Walt Disney World, Disney, or is it a little bit different? I heard different Disney parks, their haunted mansions are like different themes.
They're a little bit different from each other. They have like a similar idea, but they definitely had different layouts. And the animation of the ghosts, I feel like were almost more realistic.
Oh yeah, those are they really get into it, man. Those Japanese like their horse, so they have to make it like so lifelike when you're on that ride or watching that Japanese horror film. You're like, yes, this is what I'm talking about, you know. And since you said you tried a lot of food in Japan, what was some of the interesting foods you tried that you never tried before, and you're like, whoa.
So I tried a horse. I had horse sashimi, which is raw horse.
Raw horse?
And I actually really liked it. It was really, really good. I tried salmon eggs, was not a fan. My favorite thing I had in Japan was shabu shabu. And I ate it with Millie McKenzie, and we cooked it on, like, hot pots. And you dip meat and, like, different vegetables in these soups, and I had, like, a spicy miso soup, and it was so good. I miss that so much about Japan.
Oh my gosh, you had horse. How big was the horse meat? Was it like a small portion, or?
So it was, like, almost like the size of, like, a sushi, and you would have, like, multiple. So it was like just like a little snack.
I did. If I ever go to Japan, I gotta definitely try that out too. So
it was really good.
Yeah, I always like trying stuff. I mean, I've had cow tongue and all that, but I never had horse before. I've had kangaroo too, but you know,
I've had kangaroo.
I know kangaroo's good, but I didn't know they had that for a delicacy over there. Wow. So did you take a little bit more of wrestling training in Japan, and how different is it from the States training?
It's definitely very different. I'm used to being like the only girl in my class, and then I was in a class of like all females, and it was actually a huge class.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh my God, what is going on? I'm not used to that. I'm so used to being around like mostly guys when I'm training.
So I bet that was kind of a little difference, though. I bet you were probably beating them all up.
I definitely felt bad because the first time we were practicing, I hit way too hard because they let me hit first. So I was like, oh, I'll just hit you. Wham! And then she hit me back, and I was like, I'm hitting you way too hard. I am so sorry.
Did you have that look on her face? You know, it's like, why'd you hit me hard? We're
only practicing. Why?
I'm just picturing you doing that, just taking care of business with all those Japanese female wrestlers. You're like, okay, I'm dealing with you. Come on, let me deal with the big Japanese wrestlers. Come on, let Billie Starkz run wild, man. That cracks me up. I mean, I'm so jealous you had so much fun in Japan. I was following you on social media of all the great pictures you've been taking and all that food. And I was like, man, I'm jealous, man. Have you, since you've done Japan, have you ever thought about going overseas to like other countries and wrestle?
I do plan to go overseas again. I want to learn from, like, everywhere. Wrestling's different everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. Like, even just meeting Charlie Evans and Shaza, they have a different wrestling style than any of the women in the U.S. When I went over to Japan, those women are completely different than the women here in the U.S. So I still got to hit UK and Australia and wrestle more people.
I can see you going over UK. They're going to love you over UK because they have a different style of wrestling and how they do matches over there. I mean, you'll be perfect over there. And those UK fans, you know how diehard pro wrestling fans, I mean, besides WWE, they love their indie wrestling over there, man. If you can, like, get them, you know, at your attention and get them into your story, man, you have loyal fans. Like, for example, like Shauna Reed. Shauna Reed's been over to England lots of times, and she says she has the best experiences that she's ever had over in, in England. And then I asked her, I was like, will you ever go to Japan? She goes, yeah, I did, but they don't want me over there because I got tattoos.
Yeah, that is a very common thing. Ricky has like a bunch of tattoos, and I was asking him if he had any problems. He was like, no, but I stay covered up for the most part.
I wonder why are they like against wrestlers being tatted up?
So it's more that tattoos are associated with like gangs.
Okay.
So anybody with a tattoo, they associate with gangs.
Oh yeah, I know they have a lot of the Yakuza with they're all tatted up. Okay, now I know why, because I thought, Shauna was just joking around. I was like, really? I was just sitting there going, okay. But now I know. Thank you for Now, let's talk about your different ring gear. You got the most awesome ring gear. I mean, the most awesome vibrant colors. I mean, you always have some wild ring gear. Do you make your own ring gear, or do you have somebody else to make all those different fabulous gear you wear in the ring?
Somebody else does it for me. I know a little bit of sewing, so I can fix things here and there. And I've learned how to glue things, sparkles all over my gear, make it shiny. But currently, Allie Parker makes my gear. She does a phenomenal job. And I have 2 more sets coming on the way.
I can't wait to see them. So do you still bite in the ring? Do you got that bite?
I do not.
So what happened to that? You decided to move on, or what? What happened to the bite?
We're growing past it.
You growing past. I used to miss that. That was so much fun. But I like watching you start. You've matured a lot in the ring, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what you do next. I mean, I would love to see you over in MLW.
I have been there, actually.
Really? I did not know that. What was it like to work over at MLW?
It was amazing. I actually got to wrestle Taya at the last show in Philly, and I had an amazing time. I also got to wrestle Kayla Cassidy on my debut, and that was a really fun match. I was very, very knowledgeable about Kayla. We've been able to train together and familiar with each other. And it was a very fun match.
Oh my gosh, you got in the ring with Taya. What was that like? I mean, I bet she probably hits pretty hard.
Hey, I hit pretty hard too, but it was definitely a very interesting match because I have never been around her before. And I feel like she works a very different style than most people. And it was a very interesting match, something I'm not used to.
Yeah, so what do you consider your style of wrestling? I've seen different moves and different styles you've done. What do you call your unique style in the ring?
I definitely say I'm a mash of things. A little bit of lucha spiced in, but a little bit of high flying and mostly striking.
Yeah, you're a pretty good striker. I've seen you strike, and I wouldn't want to be striked by you, man. That would hurt like hell. Oh, another good thing about your career, too, is your father. He's a real strong supporter of your wrestling career, and he also takes great photography, too. What's it like to have your father, strongly support you in wrestling and being there for you 100%?
It's great to have him on the road and always have a person to go talk to. But it's also fun for him to create memories and take photos of everything I'm doing.
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I've met him a couple times. He's really a nice guy, and I need to get hooked up with him so he can take me some pictures. I'm trying to get some good pictures for my podcast, so I'm going to reach up and be like, "Hey, Mouse, do you think you can do some great photography for me?" So I'm going to ask your dad. Oh, so what are your next upcoming shows and matches? And I know you've been almost everywhere in the United States. What are some of the bigger states you would love to make a name for yourself?
So I would love to get to the West Coast more. I do plan on going to Mania weekend in LA. Woo. So that's going to be my first time in LA. But I'm very, very excited to be on the West Coast more. I feel like I haven't got to branch out to that scene. I've been on the East Coast, I've been in the South, the Midwest, and I've been up North. I need to make it a little bit west now.
Hey, that'd be cool if you make it a west. I grew up in California, and they got a lot of great indie promotions out there, and you'll go out there, you're going to get a big culture shock, too. You're going to be like, whoa, and you thought Japan was different? Wait till you, cruise around in, around L.A.
everyone's just trying to warn me that the traffic is almost as bad as New York, and I hated New York.
No, it is horrible because I grew up out there, and you move like real slow like this. You're going real slow. So anywhere you go, you gotta.
My mind.
Yeah, anywhere you go, you gotta at least go like an hour or so ahead of time. If you don't, you're not gonna make it to your destination on time. Trust me. And those LA drivers are crazy.
Oh no. Oh no.
I could just see you just cruising in a rental car. You're like, okay, I'm on Interstate 5 right now, trying to get to where I'm going, and yeah, you better move over. Never stay in the right lane, man. Those guys zoom right in when they're coming in the freeway. They'll run your butt over. Yeah. So, what's some of the cool promotions you want to check out and wrestle over in LA?
So I'm definitely hopping on the GCW LA Loop. I want to go to Prestige, West Coast Pro. I would love to go up to Washington again in Seattle and work for Defy. I've definitely been very interested in Defy.
They have a good promotion. I like their promotion. I've seen some of their stuff. So have you wrestled up in Canada too?
I have not yet.
I can see you over at Super Kicked Pro Wrestling, or I can see you at Smash Wrestling. You would fit right in those two promotions. And over there, Canada is a very huge pro wrestling country. I mean, they like their hockey, but they also love their pro wrestling. But yeah, I would love to see you wrestling in Canada, man. They got some great talent over there, and the fans are just phenomenal. I've been over to Canada a couple times to see, a few matches over, and I love it. It's like, okay, this is entertaining than some of the promotions here in the States. I need to come up to Toronto and check out some more. I mean, I really enjoyed Super Kicked. Super Kicked was awesome.
It sounds like an awesome show.
It is, man, because they get really into it. It's really hardcore, but Smash Wrestling is where it's at. I mean, a lot of big names and a lot of top indie talent from, the States would wrestle at Smash. That's a good one you should definitely check out. And then you should definitely check out some great pro wrestling up Northern California by San Jose and San Francisco. I mean, that's where it's at. So, hey, I'm just giving you some leads, man. since you want to get out there, but yeah, and if you go out to California, I know you're gonna go to Disneyland. Yeah, you need to go there and wear your rabbit head and walk around, the magical world of Disney.
I would scare all the children away.
You think?
I think so. The rabbit head's a little scary.
I know, just when you're just going down Main Street at Disneyland, you're walking around, everybody's like, okay, what type of Disney character is that? Is that like some kind of a Disney horror film? And then you have all these little kids hiding behind their mom and dad going, oh, this is not the happy place on earth. I saw an ugly bunny. Hey, I have to give you a hard time. I love that bunny head, man. So where can everybody find you on social media so they know what Billie Starkz is up to, and where can they get some cool t-shirts and cool gear by Starkz brand?
So all of my social media is at Billie Starkz, BILLIE, and then Starkz is STARKZ. If you want to check out any of my merchandise, it's at bigstarkzbrand.com, or it's linked in my Twitter bio. And for any updates on where I'm going to be on the weekend, you can check out my Twitter. I'm always posting where I'm going to be.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.